We've divided the world up into continents, countries, states, cities, towns, villages, the list goes on, all of which we've named. Naming places just make it easier for us to communicate. Like anything else with a name, it simplifies a set of characteristics. And behind every one of these names is a story. These stories are the topic of this video. There are too many place names to count, or even know of them all, so obviously I can't cover every place name. But I can cover the big themes and the common origins behind place names, while also providing a few interesting examples and stories, like why is there half a dozen places in the US called Rough and Ready? How a fake town and a name on a map became a real place, and why is there a capital city in another country named after a US president? I'll go ahead and admit out of the gate that this video is a little bit limiting. Different cultures have different ways of naming places, and I'm of course way more knowledgeable about the background of American place names than anywhere else. But also, like a stereotypical American, I only know English, which is extremely limiting when researching about non-English speaking countries. But today's sponsor is helping me change that. This is Babbel, a subscription-based language learning app you can use on your smartphone, tablet, or computer. What I like about Babbel is that there are multiple ways to learn: lessons, podcasts, games, videos, and live classes with qualified teachers. And Babbel teaches more than just vocab words. It teaches you about the language's culture, people, history, and geography. And this doesn't just have to be learning for the sake of learning. As much as I know you love doing that, or you wouldn't be watching this video right now, learning another language can help you advance your career. If you are in any field that requires a little research using sources other than in your native language, like myself, this will of course help. There are tons of other career fields where another language is useful as well. Education, healthcare. The US Army pays up to $1,000 more a month for knowing foreign languages. Of course, learning for a career doesn't have to be a requirement, but the added purpose can be motivating. So if you purchase Babbel using the link in the description below, you can get 65% off your subscription. And if you aren't happy with Babbel, there is a 20-day money-back guarantee.
Ik versta het niet.
Ik versta het niet. That might be useful for now. Now back to our place names. I'll start with an early map of Colonial, Virginia by John Smith in 1612. Keep in mind, north is pointed to the right on this map. One of the map's purposes was to encourage investment in the colonization of North America, and the labeling of towns and their accompanying place names served this purpose. The map records more than 200 Indian towns, spelling out their place names phonetically. The map provided structure and organization to what was previously unknown wilderness to Europeans. The many towns showed Europeans that this was fertile land that could support human settlement, and there were natives that could be traded with. Many of these place names remain today. One of the towns shown is Chesapeake. This particular place name was eventually changed, then it re-emerged a few centuries later. But other places within the region are named after the tribe. This includes the Chesapeake Bay. The United States is covered in place names with Native American origins. There are so many place names with Native American origins, the Wikipedia page listing them says it will likely never be complete, and if you know of one, please add it. 26 of 50 state names are of Native origin. Kentucky is from an Iroquoian word meaning at the meadow or on the prairie. Michigan is a word that comes from an Ottawa word meaning large water or large lake. The state name Idaho was originally proposed by a politician for a new territory, claiming that the name was derived from a Shoshone term meaning the sun comes from the mountains or gem of the mountains. But it was later revealed that there was no such term, and the politician later said that he actually had been inspired to coin the name when he met a little girl named Ida. Congress then rejected the proposal, but Idaho Springs, Colorado had adopted the name after the proposal. The place name spread, and eventually the name was applied to a U.S. state. Just as these three examples, it's common to see places named after natural features, and especially when actually naming a natural feature. The name Sahara comes from the Arabic word meaning desert, so the Sahara Desert basically means desert. But sometimes different groups of people use different names for the same place. The Arabic name for the Sahara Desert means the greatest desert. Colonialism has played a large role in place names all around the world. Many place names are named after the colonial powers leaders, such as the state of Virginia, which was named for Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen. Places were often named after places in the home country, such as New York City's borough, Brooklyn, and the neighborhood, Harlem, both of which were places in the Netherlands. New Zealand was named after the Zeeland province in the Netherlands. Explorers often had the privilege of naming places, since they were the first to discover the area. John Smith named New England, of course, after his homeland. Other times, areas would be named after the explorers, such as the Hudson River, which was not named by Henry Hudson himself, but later by the Dutch to solidify their claim to the region. Naming places after people is common. The people they are named after are usually important to the area's history or is a prominent religious figure. The Philippines is named after King Philip II of Spain. El Salvador, meaning the Savior, is referring to Jesus. Monrovia, the capital city of Liberia, is named in honor of U.S. President James Monroe, a prominent supporter of the colonization of Liberia, for the purpose of sending emancipated American slaves. There have been 6 places in the U.S. named Rough and Ready, most of which were named in honor of U.S. President Zachary Taylor, whose nickname was Old Rough and Ready. One of these is an old mining town in Nevada that declared independence from the United States on the 7th of April, 1850, and officially called itself the Great Republic of Rough and Ready. This was in an attempt to avoid paying mining taxes, but the self-declared nation voted to rejoin the Union less than 3 months later on July 4th, the United States Day of Independence. It's common for places to be named after events as well. Monterey, Indiana is named after the Battle of Monterey, which occurred during the Mexican-American War. Waterloo, Indiana was named after the Battle of Waterloo. So far, I've talked about some of the most common themes of place names, but a place can really be named after pretty much anything. Alcohol and Drug Abuse Lake, a reservoir in Richland County, South Carolina, was likely named after a nearby rehab center. What is now Mountain View, Georgia, was once called Rough and Ready, but it actually wasn't named after President Zachary Taylor, but after a local tavern of the same name. Independence, Missouri was named after the United States Declaration of Independence. Independence, Oregon was founded by pioneers who migrated from Independence, Missouri. A town in Scotland got its name from a Roman structure in the town. Agloe, New York, which appeared on maps from 1930 to the 1990s, used the initials of 2 cartographers for ExxonMobil. This town was actually fictional. It was put on a map by the cartographers in order to catch plagiarism, but in the 1950s, a general store popped up at the intersection where Agloe was located on the map. The owner had seen the map, and so it was named the Agloe General Store, making Agloe a real place. Eventually, the general store went out of business, and the name is no longer in use. Place names can sometimes change. This can happen for a variety of reasons, a couple of which I've already noted. Eswatini was called Swaziland, and once again Eswatini before that. It was changed to Swaziland during its colonization by the British. It was changed back to Eswatini in 2018. Its king cited one of the reasons for the change was that whenever we go abroad, people refer to us as Switzerland. Sometimes it's unclear or we have absolutely no idea where a place name came from. This is more common in the Old World, where place names have sometimes existed for thousands of years. Over time, some meanings were lost, while others slowly evolved through changes in language to be something completely unrecognizable. Batman Turkey likely doesn't have its origins in a superhero. It was named after a nearby river, but the origins of Batman is still unclear. It may be a shortening of a name of a nearby mountain, Bati Raman. Place names in the New World are usually easily traceable to their origins. These names have usually only come into existence in the last few hundred years or so. Now, after places are named, whether by a single person or a group of people, there is usually some sort of official process for it to stick. These decisions are typically made by a country's government. Sometimes, names can be changed at the local level, while others at the federal level. It just depends on what is being changed and how the government operates in that country. Many countries have designated organizations that approve or answer requests for name changes and new submissions. Now, this doesn't apply to all place names, Places that cross borders such as continents, vernacular regions, or really any place that has no actual administrative control over an area typically don't go through some sort of official process. The place was simply given a name by someone and it stuck. The region Zomia comes to mind. Zomia was named and defined in 2002 by a Dutch historian to refer to the huge mass of mainland Southeast Asia that has historically been beyond control of governments based in the population centers of the lowlands. Much has been published referring to the region as Zomia since the name was first coined, so it looks like the name has stuck. So what are some other interesting place names and origins? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube members. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more geography videos. Thank you all for watching.